This video will discuss Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, and one of the three most beautiful women in the world. Cleopatra's myth and actual character. Cleopatra's beauty is emphasized in many stories, but in reality, her intelligence and charm played a more important role. She spoke many languages, was highly educated, and made important political decisions in ruling Egypt. For example, she used her skillful oratory and her negotiations with the powerful Roman rulers to strengthen her own position, while preserving Egypt's independence. In the end, Cleopatra's legend was due more to her exceptional intelligence and leadership abilities than to her appearance. A large gap exists between the historical record and the myths about Cleopatra. This gap exists because stories about her have been passed down through the centuries and have been exaggerated or changed. For example, the famous story of her suicide by snakebite is actually not verified, and is only one of many legends surrounding her death. It is important to understand that while there are many myths about Cleopatra's life, they do not necessarily correspond to actual historical facts. The media has largely shaped the image of Cleopatra, but this does not necessarily reflect historical fact. In movies, books, and paintings, Cleopatra is often portrayed as a symbol of beauty and glamour, and this has helped shape popular perceptions. For example, the 1963 film, Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor, created a strong image of her glamour. But this portrayal is quite different from the historical record. It is clear that the image of Cleopatra, created by the media, sometimes obscures her actual personality and accomplishments. Cleopatra's relationship with Rome. Cleopatra's relationship with Julius Caesar was based not only on affection, but also on political interests. Caesar wanted stability in Egypt, and Cleopatra wanted to use his power to consolidate her position. The famous story of Cleopatra hiding under a carpet to Rome to meet Caesar illustrates her political wisdom. The relationship between Cleopatra and Caesar was a complex one, blending personal attraction and mutual political interests. The relationship between Cleopatra and Marcus Antonius was passionate and politically significant. Their love had a profound impact on Egyptian-Roman relations, and is deeply embedded in the history of both countries. The story of Antonius' abandonment of Rome for Cleopatra shows just how deep their love was. The relationship between Antonius and Cleopatra was a dramatic one, involving personal affection and political ambition. Cultural and political exchanges between Egypt and Rome flourished during Cleopatra's reign. Egypt was an important region for Rome as a rich supplier of grain, and Cleopatra sought to use this relationship to elevate Egypt's status. Cleopatra's supply of grain to Rome is one example of how she made Rome aware of Egypt's importance. Cultural and political exchanges between Egypt and Rome were important to both sides and played a major role in Cleopatra's political strategy. Cleopatra's political strategy. Cleopatra skillfully balanced the power relations and maintained Egypt's independence. She acted in Egypt's best interests while leveraging her relationship with Rome. For example, through alliances with powerful Roman officials, she concluded treaties favorable to Egypt and maintained the stability of the country. Cleopatra's political skills enabled Egypt to maintain its independence in the complex international relations of the time. As a female leader, Cleopatra developed her own strategy and attracted many people with her charisma and intelligence. She used her charm and political knowledge to strengthen Egypt and establish her own position. One example is that she used not only her own beauty, but also her fluent language skills and education to negotiate diplomacy. Cleopatra skillfully used her position as a woman to exercise exceptional leadership in her time. Cleopatra's diplomatic skills were one of the most important elements of her reign, and had a profound impact on Egypt. She spoke approximately 9 languages, and her cultural understanding gave her an advantage in her negotiations with other nations. In her negotiations with Roman statesmen, she made the most of her intelligence and charm, making strategic moves to elevate Egypt's position. Cleopatra's diplomatic skills were key to her political success, and were the driving force behind the great growth of Egyptian power throughout her reign. Cleopatra's death and its impact. Many mysteries and legends exist concerning Cleopatra's death, and many stories are interwoven into her final moments. Due to the lack of solid information based on historical facts, many legends have arisen and have changed and expanded over time. The most famous is that she committed suicide by a poisonous snake, for which there is no scientific evidence. And in recent years, a theory has been proposed that it was not a venomous snake, but rather a suicide by poisoning. The truth surrounding Cleopatra's death is still shrouded in mystery, and various legends make her death mysterious. Cleopatra's death marked an important turning point in the history of Egypt and Rome. Her death brought Egypt under Roman rule and triggered major political changes. After Cleopatra's death, Egypt became part of the Roman Empire, ending the era of independent pharaohs. Cleopatra's death symbolizes a historical change, the end of ancient Egypt and the expansion of the Roman Empire. Historians have a variety of views on Cleopatra's life and death, and new discoveries continue to be made. Archaeological discoveries and reanalysis of historical documents can reveal new information. Recently, new research has been conducted on the location of her tomb, which may lead to new discoveries. Historians' views on Cleopatra are diverse, and it is hoped that new discoveries will deepen our understanding of her life. Life and daily life of Cleopatra. Cleopatra enjoyed many luxuries and privileges in her daily life as royalty. Due to her status as queen, she had high-quality food, clothing, and housing, and enjoyed the utmost comfort and status. It is said that her palace had beautiful gardens, luxurious furnishings, and many servants. Cleopatra's daily life as royalty shows the wealth and cultural heights of Egypt at that time. Surprising stories about Cleopatra. It is said that she was carried to him, wrapped in a carpet, to meet Julius Caesar. What? You already know this? Okay, let's talk about something else. Another surprising anecdote about Cleopatra is that she made a perfume bet. In this story, Cleopatra bet that she could serve the most expensive meal in history. At a dinner with the Roman general Marcus Antonius, Antonius accepted the challenge, but after an ordinary sumptuous meal was served, he thought Cleopatra had lost the bet. However, as a last resort, Cleopatra took out a very expensive pearl earring, dissolved it in vinegar, and drank it. These pearls were said to be worth an entire city at the time. Speaking of which, do you all know this story? I was surprised when I looked it up myself. But Cleopatra is called the last pharaoh. The first pharaoh of the Ptolemaic dynasty was Ptolemy I, and Ptolemy was a subordinate of Alexander the Great. In other words, Cleopatra and Alexander the Great were distantly related to each other. I feel the romance of history very much. Did you enjoy it? I explained about Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, one of the 3 most beautiful women in the world. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like this video. History Spectrum.